I tried to bury my doubts and convince myself that she was just a friendly acquaintance. But sometimes, your instincts can sense the storm before it arrives. One day, he invited me to attend Laura's mother's anniversary gathering, which her entire family and my husband were quite close to. I was genuinely excited, thinking it would be a chance to make new friends and perhaps bond with Laura as well. The moment we entered the house, she rushed towards him, wrapping herself around his arm with a familiarity that unsettled me. She ignored my presence and pulled him away to the garden, and to my shock, he didn't even glance back at me. I wandered into the kitchen and struck up a conversation with Laura's mother, who was kind and welcoming, trying to make me feel at ease. The gathering seemed normal until dinner. Laura approached me and demanded that I switch seats. I was confused, as the only available spots were next to her uncle and her mother. When I asked why, she bluntly replied, "Because I want to sit next to him." I turned to my husband expecting support, but he just nodded, telling me I was being childish and causing a scene. My heart sank as I reluctantly moved to another chair. Throughout dinner, Laura was overly familiar with him, constantly laughing at his jokes, touching his arm, and praising his physique. I tried to maintain my composure, but it was clear that she was trying to get under my skin. The final straw came when I put a piece of meat on my plate, and she looked at me with disdain and said, "Are you really going to eat all that?" I froze in embarrassment as she and my husband laughed together. Laura's mother tried to defend me, but her words were ignored. I couldn't take it anymore. I excused myself, walked out of the house, and called my dad to come pick me up. As I sat waiting in the car, my phone buzzed with messages from my husband and Laura. He accused me of ruining the entire evening, while Laura sent a message calling me attention-seeking and saying I had spoiled her night. When my husband came home, I confronted him about staying at Laura's house, and he yelled at me, saying I was overreacting and imagining things. He even suggested I needed therapy for my jealousy issues. For a month we lived in a tense silence, the distance between us growing wider with each passing day. This morning, I received a message from Laura with a picture of a positive pregnancy test. She wrote, "We should get divorced, the baby is your husband's." My husband returned home around 6 a.m., tossed his keys on the table, and headed upstairs without a word. I followed him and told him we needed to talk, but he dismissed me, saying he was tired. That angered me, and I finally told him I knew about him and Laura. He just looked confused. When I showed him the messages and explained what it looked like, he laughed. That laugh felt like the last straw, a complete dismissal of my pain. I pushed past him into our bedroom, pulled a suitcase from under the bed, and started packing his things. He yelled at me, hurling insults, but his words barely registered. I was crying uncontrollably, focused only on getting his clothes into that suitcase. One insult that stuck was him calling me a crazy chichi. That's when I snapped and said some hurtful things too. I remember calling him a lousy husband but in harsher words. He left with his suitcase after I threatened to get my father involved if he didn't. A short while later, my husband messaged Amy, saying he was sorry and wanted to come home to talk about Laura's message. I'm not sure what he'll say, but I told him to meet me somewhere else. I can't have him in my house right now. I'm preparing myself for more lies and gaslighting.